Hey, today we are talking about the release of the 1950 U.S. Census on April 1st, 2022. That is no April Fool's joke. At the time of this recording, no one has seen this census yet, but I have taken a lot of information and kind of compiled it for you. I have attended several press conferences about it. So I am here to share with you what I know about the 1950 U.S. Census. And we're going to talk about all of that coming up in just a moment. I am so excited about this. I can't wait to dive in. All right. Well, hey, if this is your first time here, my name is Connie Knox. I am a lifelong genealogist here to help you go further, faster, and factually with your family history research. Please subscribe and ring the bell so that you get notified each time I upload a video and help me grow the channel at the same time. All right. So Genealogy TV has a website, a newsletter, and a Facebook page. You can find links for all of that in the description box below. There is a handout for this episode. We'll talk more about that at the end of the show. I also would like to point out that while I'm talking about several companies today, I am not sponsored by anybody, so your support is always totally appreciated.
I'm the United States Census taker.
Answer all his questions. It will mean better community conditions, accurate congressional representation, and by law, census information is as confidential as your vote. Helping the census helps Uncle Sam. Make sure you count in America's future.
All right, so the 1950 U.S. Census will be released on April 1st, 2022. Now, if you think about it for a moment, the 1950 Census was the first census post-World War II. The baby boom had not come along yet, and well, at the time the census was taken, 151 million people were living in the United States. The peak populations were in Detroit, Chicago, and St. Louis. Only New York and Los Angeles would have larger populations. Now, Detroit, Chicago, and St. Louis would lose some of the population after 1950, so be thinking about that at the time if you have family that is migrating back and forth. In 1950, 52% of the households had children under the age of 18. And those children under 18 represented 30% of the total population. Now, 87% of the households were married, compared to today, which is only about 73%. Now, think about this for a moment. Only 29% of working age women were working. By 2019, 59% had women working. Kind of interesting, eh? In 1950, air conditioning was not really in high spread use, so in the summertime, right? All right, those are just some of the stats to kind of tickle your fancy about what life was like in 1950.
In April, Uncle Sam takes a census as required by the Constitution to determine state representation in Congress. 140,000 trained men and women will visit America's 6 million farms at the rate of 200,000 a day. The city's population must be enumerated in 2 weeks. Every home must be visited. Every person must be counted. They'll cover miles of city streets from New York to San Francisco. The census taker who visits your home has credentials. Your information is confidential. These are valid questions of Americans in all walks of life, about the number of rooms in their homes, the heating facilities, the number of children they have, the number and kind of livestock they own, the crops they grow.
Now, on April 1st, the National Archives will launch its website with 6.5 million digital images. No one has had early access, not Ancestry, FamilySearch, MyHeritage, none of them. No one has early access, so those images will need to be indexed as well. Now, the National Archives and Records Administration, as you may know, is also known as NARA, will be using optical character recognition to index those images. And Ancestry and FamilySearch have teamed up together to index those images as well. Now, Ancestry is using kind of this proprietary handwriting recognition software that they have been working on for years. All right. Now, FamilySearch is also helping out with their team of volunteers who will start manually reviewing all of the indexing from Ancestry software to help confirm, correct, and add any information as needed. Now, all of this will take some time. So how long will it take? No one really knows, okay? So be patient, but it's coming, all right? So what can you do the minute it's released? Well, you can start to review the images on the National Archives website by scrolling through the images in the area in which you are researching. Now, I will leave links in the show notes for everything I could possibly, give you on the National Archives and in the handout as well. There will also be search functions for the optical character recognition indexing. So when you do start to look at these images, consider the various spellings because the optical character recognition may not be accurate. So, kind of think about sound-alikes or the handwriting and what it might, other variations that might happen. So just be thinking about that as you do your searches. All right, now you might be able to start using the census on Ancestry and FamilySearch real soon, but the reality is no one has access to it, so they can't work ahead of time. So it may take some time for your computer gurus at Ancestry and FamilySearch and MyHeritage and the rest of them to download this massive amount of information. Now, I do know that at like 12:01, they are going to get on that website and start downloading that information. So in the middle of the night, while we're sleeping, they're going to be working to try and get that information up as quickly as possible. And before long, you will start seeing hints pop up with that information. Now, here are some clips from 1950. It's a 1950 film that was produced for the enumerators. And quite frankly, there's so much good information about what's in the 1950 census, I wanted to show it to you. So this may give you some clues. So be thinking about your family history as you're watching some of these clips because it really does kind of give you a sense of what's in the 1950 census. There's some really good information about it, and I think it'll help. So I'll be skipping ahead to the good stuff, right? But be thinking about your family history. Plus, it's just fun to watch this old video.
The first decennial census in 1790 counted a few thousand less than 4 million people. Separate totals were obtained for free white males 16 years old and over, free white males under 16, free white females, other free persons, and slaves. Among those enumerated in this first census was President George Washington. His Secretary of State, Thomas Jefferson, was in charge of the census, which was conducted with U.S. Marshals as field supervisors and deputy marshals as enumerators. Thomas Jefferson and James Madison, both later presidents, joined from the beginning in urging broader inquiries in the census. In 1810, Congress authorized inquiries on industries, and in 1840, the agriculture census was added. In 1850, every inhabitant of the nation was listed by name for the first time. Before 1900, there was no permanent census organization. For the early censuses, a special force of untrained people had to be hired, trained, used, and disbanded every 10 years. The Bureau of the Census, as we know it today, with its experienced staff of permanent census workers, is only half a century old, having been established in 1902. This 1950 census will require about 140,000 enumerators, or census takers, as they're popularly known. They will begin enumerating the nation's estimated population of 150 million persons as of April 1st. In cities, the census will take about 2 weeks. In the country, it will take longer. On a form like this, known as a schedule, you will record facts about people, their names, ages, sex, race, marital status, and place of birth, the kinds of work they do, whether they are working or unemployed, and what kind of business or industry they're in. You will ask every 5th person you interview where he was living a year ago.
All right, now wait a minute. Hold on a second. That was good information for your timeline, for your research notes, because that question talks about where they were last year. So in 1949, right? So now you can add that to your timeline as to where your family was in 1949. Please continue.
Where his parents were born and the highest school grade he has attended. If he's over 14 years of age, you will find out what his income was last year and whether or not he has had military service. As a census enumerator, you will also obtain facts on housing, the types of places in which people are living, the conditions of those places, the number of rooms, the present market value, or the amount of rent paid.
All right, now wait a minute, I got to stop again. Check out this next section about the supplemental questions for some. Now, this will give you some insight about your family's lifestyle. And these supplemental questions have been in some of the previous census records. So you just pay attention, because a lot of people skip over these supplemental questions. And if your ancestor falls on one of those lines that's highlighted, they're going to explain it here in a minute. But you'll see, because there's more information at the bottom of the census page. Please continue.
For every fifth place that you visit, you'll find out about such things as type of heating unit, type of refrigerator, and whether or not there is a radio or television set in the place. As a census enumerator in the country, you will be asking questions about farms, their number and size, and the use being made of the land, the acreage and yield of grains and fruit, the number and kinds of livestock and poultry, and the types of machinery and equipment in use on the farm.
All right, well, you get the idea. Other items to be on the lookout were infant cards. Now, infant cards were filled out for infants who were born in January, February, or March of 1950. Now, there were special agricultural questionnaires. The say that 10 times real fast. The special agricultural questionnaire was used only in urban areas. When I read that, I was like, what? All right, so here's what it was. These were things like greenhouses, nurseries, etc. So they had to have 3 or more acres to be part of that special agricultural questionnaire. Now, here are some tips for you. You may, or your close family members, may be listed in the 1950 census. This may provide new clues that may help you tie other records together. For example, if you find value in a real estate column, quite frankly, on any census record, it may help you tie that to some land records, because that's a clue, right? If there's a value in the real estate column, you're like, oh, wait a minute, this guy owned land. Go look for the deeds, right? Finding families in census might also lead to other confirmations, right, of records such as tax records, voter registration, city directories, vital records. The list goes on. In some cases, you might find streets listed. Be sure to take note of the top matter as well. This will help you establish residency on your timeline in your research notes. Now, look for those highlighted supplemental questions for additional information if you're lucky enough to have someone fall into one of those questions. And if you find anything fun, please let us hear about it in the comment sections. We love to read the good stories and the things that you have found that are so exciting. All right, now there is a playlist of other U.S. Census videos in the description box below the video here on the YouTube channel. As a reminder, there is a handout for this episode. It is chock full of links and information. Now, here is more information about how you can get the handout. There are 3 ways you can get the handouts. Now, the first way is to join the channel membership here at the Information Access Level channel membership on the YouTube channel, and then go to the Community tab and you'll find the posts that have the handout links in there. All you have to do is follow the link and download the handouts. Okay, now the second way is over at Patreon. Now, at Patreon, if you're at the Happy Dance level or higher, you can get the handouts. Those come directly to you in an email every time we announce the new video that has a handout with it. You'll also get early release with that membership. All right, and then the third way is just to go over to genealogytv.org and click on the handouts tab, and you can find all the handouts there for individual purchase. So I hope that was helpful. The handouts really do support the channel, and for that, I thank you. Well, that about wraps it up. I wish you many finds in the 1950 census. There are more videos on the screen for your binge watching pleasure. So it is time for you to dig into your family history, and well, we'll see you in the next video.